Hey guys, welcome back to Fud's playing World End Economica. There weren't any additional restrictions in rewards for investment contest. In addition to normal trading, buying on margin and short selling were also allowed. There were no daily restrictions on the number of transactions, only a 0.1% transaction fee on the value of the stocks traded. The only special rule was that participants only had about 40 days of trading once they started. On top of that, after those 40 days were up, they wouldn't just close up all positions but calculate the totals. It's simply that no more transactions could take place after that point, so if you held onto stocks, their value would continue to change. I wonder if this was done out of a concern for people who made more long-term trades, as opposed to people like me who went for many short-term trades in a single day. Then, at the conclusion of the contest, the profit and loss would be calculated from the value of the stocks. In other words, if you were to carelessly hold on to random stocks, very little of it could be done after they were to slump in value afterwards. On the other hand, if even after 40 days one was not able to reach the top in terms of profits, there would always be the hope of any retained stock to be promising to bear fruit, thus rising in value afterwards. From information grabbed from the official website when it actually opened to the public, it was clear that much like the actual stock exchange, a virtual one had a share of good and bad days and bad days. There were days that had overall downward trends, whereas those were all upward trends. Observing how those things were progressing at the start of the contest, it seemed like an easy-moving bull market. Looking at the net, most investors would their time their start when the market was doing well overall, then go full throttle trading for 40 days. Afterwards, they placed all their bets on a few stocks that looked like they would go up and trade, but they did. However, my situation was a bit different. When I received an invitation, there were only 44 days left of the contest. I was probably one of the last to be invited, I would imagine. I could see how it would all be a disadvantage, but it was actually more an advantage since I could take in everything before actually making a move. Furthermore, like the real market, it was hard to get a feel for the virtual markets in the early days of a contest. In the spare time, a bunch of kind contestants collected and published data about various aspects of a contest. Furthermore, there were contestants who had chatted amongst themselves. From the conversations, it appeared like there were many long-term investors in the early days of a contest, and more short-term traders that also called the contest the latter half. I was more extreme in my version of the latter, which may have been why I got caught at the last minute. Besides, for the most part, I didn't mind the feeling of the market. The whole market felt like it was down. I would look for stocks that I appreciated and pick them up at a discount. Then, either on that day or the next day when everyone had calmed down, I would sell. If the market was an upward trend, just ride a wave. There are many methods when it came to trading, but I traded using the simplest strategies. We're doing ridiculously well just by employing that strategy. This time around I just had to keep going as I had been. Although I look confident right in my plans, I didn't feel like starting trades right away. It doesn't look like it'll work. I'm all wrapped myself in front of my computer. Were I to begin trading, my 4-day period would start. No ifs and no buts. So I basically got 4 days to start trading, I think. Today, tomorrow, the day after, or the day after that. I didn't have time to hesitate, but I really was hesitant and couldn't bring myself to press a button to start trading. If this contest were exactly the same as the actual markets and proceeding as normal, would have probably produced the same results. However, the contest was not conducted annually, but rather on an irregular schedule. I also heard this contest was part of an experiment to see if the real market could be reproduced. Since the beginning of time had yet to be someone who could unlock the secrets of the market. Even the greatest investors out there of infallible logic and reasoning, even Mr. Infallible himself could still lose big. If this experiment to succeed, it will be equivalent to unlocking the secret to alchemy. Of course, investment banks and funds were a bit more realistic than this. It seems like they'd basically use this as a means to fish talent. Even to an onlooker like me, it looked like organised with a monolithic entity. It appears the lunar government had also had his hand on this one, so perhaps there was some reason, only known to grown-ups, that the contest was held irregularly. In other words, it wasn't clear whether or not there would be another time. If that were the case, there wouldn't be another chance when the top prize scouted for Schrödinger Street. Thinking about that, I couldn't move carelessly. Failure was not an option. That's why I was monitoring the actual market and virtual market at the same time. But what should I do at this late hour? I didn't feel like using a computer while sitting properly at the desk, so I placed it on the floor and sat cross-legged in front of it. I mumbled to myself as I sat cross-legged and placed my hands behind my head before looking up and falling backwards. If I had a different method. I looked at the ceiling over what I knew about various methods of trading. There are three main techniques when it came to trading stocks. Given that owning stocks was basically owning a piece of a corporation, one technique focused on the basic value principles that sound corporations would rise in value, while bad ones would drop. Looking over the minute financial details of a corporation's performance, examining the products they manufactured before investing was a fundamental way of trading. The second technique was to ignore such fundamentals and focus solely on the price fluctuation of a stock to gain maximum profits. This trading method relied heavily on plotted graphs and the stock price changings on a chart, utilising that movement to make a trade. Analysing the previous charts of countless companies, one would predict whether or not stock would rise or fall on the curves. This was called technical analysis. The third technique was based on the assumption that stock movements were essentially random and it was impossible to predict people's actions. There was apparently some statistical result stating that there wasn't much difference in performance between people sweating it out and looking at the company's performances, staying up all night to analyse charts and choose stock trade, and monkeys throwing darts randomly. They asserted that price fluctuations of stocks were actually random and thus are called random walkers. In my case, I focused on the good merits of all three techniques. Took news about particular businesses into consideration, made predictions based on the stock prices and fluctuations, but even then it was hard to say what would happen to a stock price. So in the end, I'd rely on intuition before trading. At first it was amazingly efficient, and I even wondered if I wasn't some kind of genius. Certainly there had been times where, despite my confidence, I'd purchased stocks that had dropped in value, and then thinking it was a bad situation, relinquished to momentary watch them skyrocket in value. Overall, I'd done well. But even though I had faith in my trading methodology, losses started cropping up soon enough, and my mind began to fill with doubt. What was I really doing the right way? Trying to take the good points of all three methods were meaningless. What bothered me and made me hesitant, in other words, was this. First, when I heard about Hagana's math skills, I realised there was a possibility of a fourth method of trading. Using maths to make predictions of the future was commonplace in physics. For example, if you were to go visit the service page of the orbital elevator, there was a prediction as to when and where the orbital elevator would collide with garbage floating around on Earth. The time delay would have on service, the danger level was displayed. Estimates by space stations took into account pieces of garbage larger than the tip of your thumb. If there was a possibility of anything large colliding with it, it would be destroyed or laser caused it to fall back on Earth. If you want to know more about that, just watch the anime Planet Test, it's bloody brilliant. Up until now, it had been not one major accident or error. It could be possible to perfectly predict the movement of tens of thousands of pieces of garbage no larger than the size of your thumb, and it orbits through the Earth at several kilometres per second. Now, space garbage is actually a pretty interesting problem, to be honest. Not really subject to this game, but the Kepler effect is where a single screw, which had been jettisoned from a space station or shuttle or a satellite as it was in the Earth's orbit, travelling at orbit speeds, imagine a single screw travelling at huge speeds collided with another space object, another satellite. What I would do, it would damage the satellite, potentially destroy it, and then you would have hundreds of tiny little screws orbiting the Earth at that speed. And then the likelihood of another collision happening the same way would be higher. That collision would create more debris, and you end up with a ever-growing exponential growth of space debris to a point where eventually it will be impossible to enter or leave the Earth. That's why keeping attention to space garbage is actually a pretty damn important thing. It's one thing which you're probably going to hear a lot more about in the future, but let's move on back to the game. Like I say, if you want to know more about that, really read or watch Planet Test. It's a bloody brilliant series about dustbin men in space. There would be no reason that such precise calculations cannot also be used to predict the price fluctuations of a stock. Those who believed in that theory were called quants, and therefore apparently a smattering of them would help PhDs from Lunar University. If Hagana also possessed that talent and was able to mimic the trading methods of quants, As I thought about that, I realised it was practically a pipe dream. Even if Hagana were able to understand all of that, it was an entirely different thing for her to agree to help me. At this point, I'd just finished spending the morning of combining websites for tricks on how to do well in virtual markets. The clock had just about hit noon when I remembered Lisa's orders. I grumbled to myself in annoyance, but I realised I was running on empty at the same time, and immediately headed to the living room where I saw a wrapped up sandwich sitting on my table. I should use the bathroom first. I poured the rest of my coffee in my coffee maker into my cup and tossed it in the microwave and headed for the bathroom. 3 meals a day for 10 meals was rather cheap. I took a leak and washed my hands. I grumbled to myself as I headed back to the living room, where I stopped myself completely in my tracks. Somehow, at the same time, Hagana also came to the living room. We were both rather surprised by each other's appearance and looked away, pretending the other one wasn't there. However, Hagana sat down at a table first while I was just groaned. As expected, I wanted to be excused from sitting alone with Hagana while quietly eating sandwiches. For now, I took a detour over to the microwave and picked up a warm coffee cup. Hagana was quietly eating a sandwich nearby and didn't bother to even look up. I heard from Lisa that Hagana's overly pushing haggling at the clothing shop yesterday was her way of thanking me. In that case, it was possibly I was being insensitive by what I said. But on top of not knowing about that, Hagana had kicked me squarely in the shin. While it being a favour to me, shouldn't Hagana apologise to me properly then? That's what I thought, but judging from the start of Hagana's mood, I can sense her anger perfectly clearly. So, was I wrong? I wanted to ask her. I guess Hagana might just be more of a princess type after all. I shrugged my shoulders as I sipped my coffee, and headed back to the table as I thought about taking my sandwich back to my room to eat. It was at a moment I was aware of Lisa's computer, which sat on a random spot on the sink. A pinhole camera, which kind used for video calls, was powered on and pointing directly at the table. She would go that far. In my mind, I was disgusted by this, but on honest, I had to tip my hat for her to go in that length. But besides, when I took a deep breath and thought about it, though we were all living together under one roof, thinking about how long I'd have to stay here, it did depress me. In such a confined space, whether it was a toilet or bath change, chances are I'd run into her quite often. It was annoying to think there'd be an awkward silence between us each time. I didn't think I'd done anything wrong. Hagana was wrong, if anything, nevertheless. I was determined that this was where I should show my sincerity as a man. Coffee cup in hand, I returned to a table. I figured sitting diagonally from Hagana's chair would be the farthest point from her. The sandwiches placed carefully on a plane to the centre of the table. Took one of them and started chewing on it. It appeared to be homemade like Lisa. At least the ingredients were certainly very grown up. There was tuna with leafy greens and peas. There was lean meat in between. It seems she took into consideration my mentioning how strong the flavour wasn't. Mostly the mustard flavouring was kept to a more reasonable amount. While Hagana's small mouth was halfway done eating a sandwich, I'd already devoured my first. I licked my fingers and took a sip of coffee before reaching for a second. It was then I spoke to Hagana. "You're fine without anything to drink?" I thought I'd chosen something harmless to say, but Hagana didn't look up at all. "Want me to make you some coffee?" I spoke out to her again, but didn't even get the slightest reaction. Her disregard for me was almost refreshing in a way. Despite my attempts to meet her halfway and compromise, it didn't appear like she wanted to concede anything. While I wondered I couldn't get anything out of this gridlock, I decided that since I'd already tried to reach out to her, I might as well try again. "Hey!" I changed my tone of voice slightly, which caused Hagana to react. Where she was ignoring me, it wasn't though her ears were closed as well. Hagana stopped eating, then took that time to speak. I had from least regard to what happened yesterday. Hagana didn't respond, nor did she look up. "It was your way of thanking me, right?" She didn't reply. However, she did go back to eating a sandwich. On top of that, she was eating more quickly than before. How should I say this? I didn't know about that, and I spoke without thinking. I mean, it wasn't that it wasn't thankfully bringing the price down, but it isn't that. When and how I ended up rambling like this, I'm finishing words of breaking my deadlock. And at that moment, shut up. Hagana replied with a simple phrase. I was completely taken aback, and I stared at Hagana. She stared at the table as if something bad was about written on it. And then, after a short period of time, she started eating a sandwich again. And this time, she was going even faster than before. It was clear she was angry. No. Wait a sec. Well, I was left unfounded. It was as if I felt some sort of major premonition. I'd lose my cool in the next few moments, and I thought to myself, it was some sort of weather forecast. If anything else, is Hagana's actions were uncalled for. I don't get it. I said, shut up. I feel the hairs on my temples standing on end. Why? Why'd you say that anyway? You're the one who kicked me without reason. I'm already in a worse position, so what is it with that? She didn't look up. Surprisingly, the hand that held up a sandwich stopped moving. I took a deep breath to hold back the impulse to toss a coffee cup in my hand, but the anger didn't abate. I glared at Hagana and spoke. Back on that subject, it was she who was wrong for that unreasonable haggling. According to what Lisa said, it was about the result of Hagana being a bit too enthusiastic about doing it. But if there's no ill on will, it could all be forgiven. There would be no hardship in the world. But Hagana didn't say anything else. After finishing the sandwich, she stood up from her chair. And then she looked at me with anger and disdain and spoke. You don't even work. On hearing those words for a brief moment, I forgot about my anger and just replied to a question. Huh? Did you steal money from your mummy before you ran away from home? Is that why you put on airs about having money? Malice and Hagana's words were way too clear. But these words were so unexpected that I couldn't stay angry. You don't work and you're on a computer every day, and who are you pretending to be paying off that interest? I was unfounded when I looked back at Hagana. I wasn't working? We're all doing that to survive. We're different from someone who was born on the moon. That's the one thing I didn't want to hear from someone who came from Earth. Hagana fired off those words one after another. Lisa's way too nice. I don't know why she wouldn't protect a punk like you. When, even though it looked like she was have something to say, and it seems like she was so promotion and words that didn't come out. Hagana looked pained. She knit her brow and suddenly turned and left the table. Ah, wait! I called out to her reflectively, but Hagana didn't turn back. Just like that time at the clothing store, Hagana didn't look back at me at all and left the living room. Before long, I could hear the door to her room close. Once again, I was left there, dumbfounded. But at least it wasn't like the time at the clothing store when I had no idea what was going on. I remember looking at Hagana's eye when she said I didn't work. The look stuck out in my mind when I first came here. A source of Hagana's crabby attitude, it seemed. What was she going on in mind when she came to her moon because she was bought, and she was also financially burdened in a place she fled to right after running away from home? On top of that, even with her mathematical ability, which she couldn't use to teach children, she's probably dismayed if she can help solve their fundamental problems. At the same time, Hagana saw me with a computer every day at a church, probably saw me as a punk kid who just played around all day after running away from home. I probably look like an example of a lunar-born, lunar-raised idiot whose mind had gone slack from low gravity. Knowing that now, how Hagana acting didn't really seem that unreasonable. I wasn't really angry about anything at this point. I didn't quite settle a problem though. For example, should I go to her room and knock on her door in order to tell her what I was all misunderstanding? The fact that I was making a huge profit on the stock market and actually not playing around on a computer? Should I say she shouldn't misunderstand me at all? After all I said that, Hagana would open the door, show understanding, and apologise. Of course, I didn't imagine that would be the case. I just figured out it was impossible to give Hagana a stance. With everything, it was a matter of timing. You couldn't undo what was already done. I've learnt that many a time from trading stocks. I scratched my head and sighed. I realised that it didn't really matter whether or not Hagana liked me or hated me. It really wasn't a good feeling to have an animosity towards me due to misunderstanding. To say nothing of Hagana's supposed mathematical genius, which I couldn't use in this case. If that genius could be utilised, it would be a happy outcome for both myself and Hagana. However, until this misunderstanding was resolved, it would be difficult to get her assistance. I leaned back in my whole body, felt exhausted from this, and I turned towards the computer on the top of my sink. I could imagine if she was spying on this from somewhere. It was impossible she just left the power on and something was being recorded. Thinking about Lisa's personality, it would be fitting for her to make such a mischievous threat. Even so, I looked for the camera and bit my lower lip. What to do now? Naturally, there was no response from the computer. I sighed once more and looked up at the ceiling. Probably a good point to end the episode. As ever, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. My name is Fuds. Remember to like and subscribe, and leave a comment if you liked it. Bye bye.